Hi there again, everyone. Jeremy Miller, Pyra Consulting, founder and CEO, back with another message for today's Daily PC. And today's message is this: did you really call in sick again? Sit back, relax, and enjoy. This entire message comes down to the ability to communicate. We had a situation recently where one of our consultants was legit sick. I mean, legit. Throwing up the whole shebang for days in a row. And this guy, God love him, was trying to figure out how to manipulate or handle this situation. But what we all don't understand is that these certain circumstances affect so many different groups of people, and we are all having to massage this situation one way or the other. So we, as in the staffing company, find ourselves in a position where we're trying to balance our client and our consultant. We owe both of you something every single time. We have an obligation to be able to represent you as the consultant at the client site in a positive manner as much as we can. So every single circumstance where we run into something where we have to defend you, we're trying to find information to do so. And normally that's easy, but sometimes it's complicated. In addition, we have an obligation to defend our client because we landed this client. We have an obligation to support them. They have a business to run, they have a department to run, they have a reputation to uphold, the whole thing. So we find ourselves in these situations sometimes where we have to figure out how we're going to manipulate this situation. In this particular circumstance, we had somebody who was in the very beginning of their contract and they're early into their tenure, right? So you and I both know that if you've been at a job for a very short period of time, you're kind of auditioning to a certain extent. Contract to hire, perm, who cares? You're auditioning based on your interview. However, there are times where you could find yourself 2 years in and you have a certain reputation, hopefully good, and you still have to uphold that. So this guy was missing work a lot and we were struggling to get a hold of him. I mean, struggling. Phone calls, text messages, emails, the whole shebang. So we have to be able to communicate to our client what the hell's going on in this circumstance. Why is he out? When is he going to be back? How is the communication? Day one, no problem. Simple as that. He called in, no problem. We can communicate that. Day two, he called in again. As far as we know, legitimately sick. We have no reason to believe that this person is trying to mess with us. We have no reason to believe that they took another job, anything along those lines. Day three, this person does not call in. So now we have the client calling us and the consultant trying to figure out what the hell is going on. Why are they not here? What's going on? Is this real? Is this bullshit? What's the deal? So now we're reaching out trying to figure out like, hey, we have to defend you in this circumstance. So what the heck do we do? So give me something so that I know how to go back to the client and be able to explain why you're out, doctor's note, the whole situation. In this circumstance in particular, there was no communication on day number 3. So now, how do you defend that? So we're the staffing company trying to reach out to the client, trying to figure out, okay, how do we defend this person so that we don't lose this placement, he or she doesn't lose the job, and we don't lose the client. But we're not getting any communication, so what do we do now? So now we internally are having these debates back and forth. Managers, account managers, recruiters, the whole thing. Did you reach out? Did you not reach out? When did he or she reply? Did he or she not reply? Did you text them 3-4 hours ago? Why didn't they reply? I don't take that long to reply to text messages. So we're debating this thing internally. And then we have an obligation to be able to follow up with our customer talking about this is the communication we had. We set the record straight on expectations regarding attendance, blah, 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 blah. Day 4, this person's still out. Now we're struggling because now you start making up stories in your head. And one of the things I say all the time is that in absence of information, every human makes shit up. So think about it. Any circumstance where no one's communicating with you and you're trying to get a hold of them, you start making things up. What are they thinking? What are they doing? Why did they not communicate? Why are they not communicating? They're trying to send a message, etc., etc. So the entire message of this story is that you have to communicate, period. Just communicate. What are you doing? Where are you? Are you sick? Do you not want the job anymore? How do we massage that with the customer? And we're not trying to screw you over if you're the consultant. We're trying to help you. But you also have to understand we have the dual obligation. We have to be able to figure out a way to please both sides of the circumstance. We are your employer if you're on contract to hire. And however, even though that's the case, you still work at our client site. So we have to be able to manipulate this situation. And anybody listening right now in the staffing business knows exactly what I'm talking about. You run into these circumstances where you as the recruiter are trying to defend your consultant to your internal account manager, because your internal account manager is super worried about how they're going to communicate this to their client. Then when the account manager communicates this to their client, they have to be able to tell a coherent story that doesn't make them look freaking stupid. And we don't want to look freaking stupid. Not only do we not want to look stupid, we don't want you, the consultant, looking stupid. And the last thing we want is you losing the job. And oh my gosh, what if we lose the contract with our client? So we have these weird situations all the time. Calling in sick is just one of them. It could be anything. But the moral of the story is flippin' communicate. Communicate. So if you're gonna be out and you are throwing up, or you have a legit flu cold where you don't want to get other people sick, if you can, communicate on the night before about the fact that you're gonna be out. If you're not sure or you don't wanna call in sick, cool, wait till the morning and then communicate. Now, if you're in a consultant situation, you can let us know. We will communicate to the client for you. That's part of the service we provide. But we're most worried about the client. So if you want to communicate with the client directly, that's perfectly fine too. But either way, we have to communicate. And we're trying to be cool about this. We're trying to massage both ends of the spectrum, but eventually we have to be honest about what's going on. And if you're not calling us back, texting us back, emailing us back, we start making up stories, fair or not. The client starts making up stories, fair or not, and then now you are put in a negative light. So even if you are going back to that job, even if you were legitimately sick, now you have this hole that you've dug for yourself. You have to dig out of it, and we have to figure out how to dig out of it as a client as well. So these are tricky situations only if you're not communicating. If you are communicating, we can solve the problem easily. So go into the weekend thinking about whether or not you've done this to a staffing company, you've done this to your employer. If you are the staffing company, you and I both know how you have to manipulate this, and have you handled it wrong? Have you been too hard on the consultant and not understanding that they can be super sick? Maybe they're literally in the hospital. Maybe this is super legit and they are like on their deathbed, or there was an injury or something very serious happened in their personal life. So how do you manipulate that? If you're the client, hopefully you can understand that the vendor that you're working with is doing the best that we can to be able to communicate, and we don't want this to screw up any more than you do. So think about where we can all improve the communication moving forward, and we'll come back again next week with another message for the Daily PC with Pyra Consulting. You just got done listening to the Daily PC by Pyra Consulting. Please check us out online on LinkedIn, Facebook, or our website at pyraconsulting.com. That's PIRA consulting.com.